Hello, my name is Andrew Spoth with Smart Enterprise magazine. I'm interviewing Jeremy Grant with the U.S. Commerce Department, who's leading NIST. And Jeremy, we just got to see your session. We have a couple of questions to follow up on that. So the first question is, what is the current status of the NSTIC project?
Sure. So NSTIC, by the way, for those who don't know the acronym, for those who might be outside of Washington, it's the National Strategy for Trusted Identities in Cyberspace. It was signed by President Obama almost 2 years ago in April 2011, and it's a fascinating, I say that not just because I'm the guy leading its implementation, but really fascinating strategy that calls on partnership with the private sector to create an identity ecosystem, essentially a marketplace where all of us and our friends, our spouses, our neighbors, our kids can soon choose from a variety of different types of credentials as we go online for convenience, for transactions that are more convenient, more secure, and more privacy enhancing than what you have today. It's essentially looking to get us away from the password-based systems that have become both insecure and completely unmanageable in terms of trying to keep track of 25 or 30 different passwords, and get us to a better identity infrastructure for the internet that can really help provide a foundation for a whole new way of doing things online. So while the government has issued the strategy, it really relies on partnership with the private sector for its implementation. We've been quite busy over the last year. For starters, we funded 5 pilot programs back in September, awarding a total of $9.2 million across 5 pilots that are actually testing different types of NSTIC-aligned advanced credentialing and authentication solutions out in the real world with real service providers and relying parties. So everything from biometric-based smartphone authentication that's being used with relying parties like PayPal and ARP, major universities, some banks, to a model for an attribute exchange network that will allow consumers to be able to choose to share different attributes about themselves that aren't currently available in the online environment with different entities that they're doing business with in a way that is both secure and protects their privacy and respects their control over those things. Aside from the pilots, we've had tremendous efforts within the government to make sure that the government itself can start to be a stronger consumer of federated credentialing solutions that align with NSTIC. And we've created a privately led identity ecosystem steering group that is a place really to convene stakeholders from across all sectors, not just outside of not just in the U.S., but also from abroad, to talk about how to come up with a framework of standards, policies, operating rules that can actually be a foundation for the identity ecosystem envisioned in the President's strategy and an accreditation process for firms participating in it to know that they can actually trust those credentials that are being presented. So no shortage of activity and lots of good things going on.
So Jeremy, once we have the NSTIC in place, what do you see as the key strategies to promoting adoption of it?
Sure. Well, so, NSTIC, a lot of its implementation is really focused at the end of the day on catalyzing a marketplace, this identity ecosystem. And I think it's something that will be developing over time and will be strengthened over time by more participants coming in, as opposed to pointing to any distinct point in time when we will simply say, behold, it exists, and be able to walk away. Developing a marketplace, means you're going to need to have a number of entities that are willing to be credential issuers. You're going to need a really solid base of millions of users who actually want to rely on them instead of the passwords or other types of solutions that they're using today. And arguably most importantly, you need to have a lot of relying parties, service providers who are actually going to want to trust those credentials in lieu of issuing their own username or passwords or forcing people to create an account time and time again. If there's a single use case that we're looking at with regard to NSTIC, it's what my mom, who's in her, sorry mom, you're in your late 60s now, is going to be doing 3 years from now on her tablet when she's logging into her bank, an e-commerce site, her doctor's office, or say mymedicare.gov as a government site. There's a lot of types of transactions with each of those where she'd like to not have to enter in a password each time. She'd like to have stronger authentication that makes things more convenient. She'd like it to be developed in a way that also protects her privacy and gives her more choice about her information. How do we have a single solution that could actually be accepted across all of those sites? So we'll need interested users, and we've got plenty of those already. Thanks, Mom. And more than anything else, we also need entities who want to be relying parties who are actually interested in trusting these kinds of solutions rather than continue to force their customers to go through very cumbersome account creation processes where they have to set up yet another username and password. So the more we can get that in, we think there's real benefits to companies to trust these solutions. Think about the ability to translate page views to sales When you look at statistics, they show that more than half of online shoppers will actually abandon a site or abandon a shopping cart when they are asked to create another username and password. It's just not worth the hassle. So we think there's some real economic benefits in terms of being able to streamline things and make it more convenient. But we also need more at the table to try and get involved right now in the steering group that we've set up around NSTIC to articulate what some of their requirements are and make sure that this is actually an ecosystem that will work for them.
Okay. So to wrap up, open-ended question, slightly open-ended. What do you see as the next couple of milestones and or challenges for all of this?
Well, milestones should be fun over the next few months. As I think I mentioned in the first question, we funded a handful of pilots back in September. Most of them have a 2-year period of performance. We're only about 4.5 months in. Starting actually later this month, now that we're in February, for those of you watching this at a later time, we're going to start to see the first pilots actually go live, giving consumers and reliant parties a chance to start testing out new types of solutions that are NSTIC aligned. We're real excited to see how those all work, how they're accepted, if there's problems with some of them, which since they're pilots, I'm sure we'll have some lessons learned as well as success stories. Beyond that, in the Identity Ecosystem Steering Group, there's a tremendous amount of activity right now in different committees to start to build a work plan of what's actually going to be needed to drive progress in the ecosystem. We've got a pretty broad array of stakeholders. In fact, as Brett McDowell from PayPal, who chairs the management council of the steering group, said, he's never seen a broader, more diverse array of stakeholders focused on identity who have actually come together at any one time. So that's a great place for us to start from. There's a lot of hard work to be done in terms of actually figuring out, what comes next within that organization. And we need more participants, and it's free to join. So you can do so at www.idecosystem.org. Beyond that, we're also doing quite a bit on the government side to try and make sure the government can be an early adopter. We're expecting later this spring to launch a pilot for what we've dubbed the Federal Cloud Credential Exchange, which would be an enterprise cloud service that all federal agencies can use to link up with what is becoming a sizable number of federally accredited private sector credential providers that can be used at websites in lieu of creating your own username and password or other type of account. It's essentially an easy button for agencies to start embracing the concept of federation and strong authentication. And as we go live with that and start to roll agencies into that, I think you'll see the government be one of the early leaders in embracing the President's strategy.
Jeremy, thank you for your time. This is Andrew Spoth with Smart Enterprise. Thank you.